Advanced English Arabic Learning Phrasal Verbs, Session 14. The CEO pleaded out and blamed the CFO for the fraud. We plowed back all the profits to grow the company. The bus skidded and plowed into the bus stop. It was really boring, but we plowed on. We plowed through all 8 courses. It takes me ages to plow through any of Henry James' novels. The police car had to plow through the crowd. The tractor plowed up the field so they could sow the crop. He was plucking at his cuffs during the interview. Finally, I plucked up the courage to meet him. They plucked up the courage to complain. He plumped his bag down and kicked his shoes off. She plumped her bag on the table. She plumped herself down in the nearest seat. Offered a choice of drinks, he plumped for brandy. I finally plumped for the blue dress. I plumped up the pillow and lay down. She plumped herself down next to me. He pointed out that I only had 2 weeks to get the whole thing finished. I poked about in my CD collection to see if I could find it. I poked around in my desk to see if the letter was there. She polishes off half a bottle of gin every night. I need to polish up my French before I go to Paris. He ponied up $100 for the project. As well as putting up his own cash, he persuaded others to pony up. He has to pony up for her lawyer's bill. I had to pony $50 up for the meal, shell out. I was going to write my essay, but I pooped out and went to bed instead. We were supposed to meet yesterday, but she pooped out on me. They were pootling down a canal in their new boat. They were tootling along the coast road. The chap who just wants to poodle along the road at 50 miles per hour. We were pootling along at 30 miles an hour. He popped in for a coffee on his way home. He's always popping off when things don't suit him. He's just popped off for a break but should be back in a few minutes. I'm just popping out to the shops. Do you need anything while I'm out? The dialog box popped up when I pressed enter. I'm going to have to work late tonight because something has popped up. On Saturday mornings, I potter about the garden if the weather's fine. I pottered around, sorting out my CDs. It poured down all day, so we had to remain indoors. Useless statistics pour forth from him. She pored over the report looking for mistakes. I spent hours poring over cookery books. He pored over the map for hours. They pressed ahead with the elections despite the violence. The workers are pressing for better pay and conditions. The government are pressing forward with the new law. When the line was breached, reserve troops were pressed into service. We pressed on to get to our destination before night fell. The invitations were pressed upon us and it was hard to say no. He just prattled on instead of giving a straight answer. Spiders prey on insects. They prey on older people. Cats prey upon birds and mice. They prey upon people's fears about immigration. Speculators have priced in the risk of a war breaking out. In rural areas where they have a monopoly, some garages price up fuel. He printed out the letter and checked through it carefully. The council have propped up the museum for years with grants. We have to try to psych out our rivals. Boxers try to psych their opponents out. I psyched myself up for the exam. She puckered up when he leant forwards to kiss her. The lorry was going slowly, but we managed to pull ahead. My tutor pulled my essay apart. A fight broke out in the pub and it was hard to pull the people involved apart. It pulled me apart to see them arguing so much. The car pulled away from the lights at high speed. They pulled back a goal. They have pulled the troops back from the front line. She pulled back when he tried to kiss her. They pulled back from the deal. They pulled the old cinema down to build a new shopping mall. Losing her job pulled her down. He's pulling down a fortune. Who will you be pulling for in the final? Support. The train pulled in and we rushed to meet her as she got off. Their last tour pulled in millions of fans. I pulled in to let the passengers out. The police pulled them in after the trouble. She pulled it off in the end. When the lights turned green, the car pulled off. I pulled on a jumper when the sun went in. The train was pulling out when I got there. The traffic was so bad that it took me ages to pull out. The project was going badly and they decided to pull out. People want the government to pull the troops out. The police pulled the car over. The police pulled the car over and tested the driver for alcohol. She was going to die, but she pulled through in the end. Could you pull the door too, please? If we all pull together, we'll have it finished in no time. He pulled up outside the cottage, drew up. The cab pulled up outside my house and I got out, drew up. The pilot pulled the plane up in an attempt to avoid the building. The shock of his words pulled her up short. She never failed to pull us up and tell us to stop. He pulled me up because I had got my facts wrong. He was so angry that he couldn't pull himself together. The girl's mother was quarreling out with her daughter about the party. I am not quarreling with their idea, but I think there are other possibilities. When someone pushes in, they unfairly join a queue. She just pushed in the queue in front of me. He found it difficult to put across what he wanted to say at the meeting. He put the dictionary back on the shelf after he'd finished the crossword. The judge put him away for 10 years for robbery. The AGM has been put back until July the 17th. I try to put some money by every month towards our summer holiday. He had his dog put down because it was in a lot of pain from its tumors. Put the gun down slowly and keep your hands where I can see them. He didn't score many, but we can put that down to inexperience. They had to put in a whole new central heating system because the house was so cold. Install. He put in for a transfer to the new branch. The concert's been put off until next month. I was really put off by the way he eats with his mouth open. He's put on a lot of weight since he gave up smoking. I am not putting you on. I put my coat on before we went out. Several charities put out an appeal on TV for money for the victims of the flooding. Would it be putting you out greatly if I asked to change to another day? He put out his cigarette before entering the building. They put over a clever practical joke on us. Could you put me through to extension 2 please? She put $100 towards the cost of the repairs and we had to pay the rest. She put me up for the night because I'd missed the last bus. The government has put tuition fees for students up again. They put up a great fight but lost. His friends put him up to stealing it. I can't put up with my neighbor's noise any longer. I queered the exam up, mess up, ruin. The audience quietened down when the lights were switched off in the auditorium. They quit on me just when things got rough. My phone has quit on me, can I borrow yours? They raced off when the police arrived. He told her to rack off. I'm tired, I'm going to rack out. Japan is racking up record trade surpluses with the United States. He's racked up a number of convictions for speeding. They racked up the car in an accident. Bombs rained down on the city all night. The match was rained off. The game was rained out. She's raking in thousands a day. It's the only shop in the area and they're raking it in. They rake tourists off all the time. They keep raking over the rows we had last year. The press have raked up some scandals from her past. Quit rambling on, I'm tired of listening to you. The company has ramped its prices up. She rapped out the command. She ratted on her neighbors to the police. He always rats on his promises. He ratted me out to the police. I ratted through the papers on my desk but couldn't find the letter. The media are trying to ratchet up the pressure on the president. He rattled off some instructions. She rattled off loads of statistics which nobody could understand. I reached out and caught the ball. They are reaching out for major economic reforms. I reached out to you when I was in trouble. Charities are reaching out to those who lost their homes in the floods. The candidates are reaching out to the poor to get their votes. The end. Coming next. Session 15.